On the coastline of Australia's far south lies a strip of sea known as Bass Strait. It is cold, yet home to some truly amazing sea life. Within Port Phillip Bay, near the state of Victoria's capital Melbourne, the waters are largely protected from outside swells, and under jetties such as this one, animals may find a home. Although they might look as soft as feathers, these hydroids are capable of giving a nasty sting. Crabs, such as this red bait crab, patrol the pylons looking for a feed. Fish are here too. Magpie and dusky morwongs feed on worms plucked from the sea floor. The spider crab is a master of fashion and disguise. It pulls up sponges and weeds, attaching them to its spiny shell as camouflage. They're about as individual as a crab can get. Porcupine fish might be slow, but they are highly poisonous and, if threatened, will puff up into a prickly ball. Large schools of yellow-eye mullet seek shelter under a jetty. These fish are typically vegetarian, but if hunger strikes, they will become predators of small fish and crustaceans. In turn, they are prey for larger predators. If you look carefully on the pylons, you may spot smaller fish like this three-fin. It has 3 dorsal fins and feeds on small animals it finds among the sponges. As night falls, Port Phillip Bay takes on a different character. The bare sandy deserts become a hunting ground for predators that live here and some that swim in from nearby. Any scraps left around are soon mopped up by these swimmer crabs. When they feel safe, they'll move out over the sand to feed. Like an aquatic bulldog with fins, this stargazer is short, plump and has powerful jaws. It is searching for the perfect place to settle down and ambush its prey, usually any small fish that swims over its mouth. With a wriggle of the body and pumping of the gills, it sinks into the sand where only its eyes and mouth will show. Stargazers are named for their upward-facing eyes that always seem to be looking at the sky. Flathead are also an ambush predator. With a shovel-like head and excellent camouflage, they can get away with just sitting on the surface of the sand. Moving in from nearby reefs, especially under the light of a full moon, the southern reef squid hovers in mid-water looking to catch pilchards attracted to the lights. Its tentacles shoot out faster than the human eye can follow. This time, the squid was a little slow. When dawn comes, it will head back to a nearby reef. A worm eel searches the sand with its keen sense of smell for any clues of its favourite prey, shrimps. A shy creature by nature, it will burrow into the sand when daylight comes. Outside Port Phillip Bay, sheltered areas are home to rich meadows of sea nymph and seagrass. This in turn creates a slightly different habitat that has been called the rainforest of the sea. A common sight is a delightful southern goatfish, named for its goat-like whiskers. It tickles them along the sea floor in search of food buried underneath. Schools of grass whiting cruise above the canopy, dipping down to snack on worms and shellfish within the seagrass. They use their pectoral fins like wings, flapping them instead of using their tails. On the bottom, a pair of pygmy leather jackets search for food on a piece of discarded steel. They have chisel-like teeth to crack the shells of tube worms and mollusks. But perhaps the most bizarre of the seagrass dwellers is this, the weedy sea dragon. With leaf-like appendages over its body and a colour that imitates a piece of kelp, it can be a hard animal to find. Unlike their relatives the seahorses and pipefish, they cannot wrap their tail around objects. So to rest they must nestle down in some weed. With a long tubular snout ending in a tiny upward-facing mouth, they can only eat tiny prey such as these mysids, which they suck up with a loud snap. They compete heavily with other fish such as these hulafish and sea sweep. A slow-moving animal, the sea dragon can only move with the rippling movements of its pectoral and dorsal fins. They have just enough power to steer themselves from one feeding area to another. Like with their cousins, the seahorses and pipefish, breeding is an unusual affair. Females are not flexible enough to lay eggs under their own tail, so the male offers his abdomen as a nursery for the eggs, keeping water flowing over them and hiding them from hungry fish until they hatch and swim away on their own. Although cold, the waters of southern Victoria are certainly not boring and lifeless, as we just discovered. So join us for the next part of the series as we head out to eastern Indonesia to discover the tropical coral reefs.